Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, Text 2, Translation and Commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. I've been lecturing over the last few years in Croatia at a camp. I was lecturing on the first verse, and I finished that, and I moved into the second verse. So I'm going through analyzing the words. This is what Gopi Pranadana Prabhu called an underview instead of an overview. Although, of course, his analysis is significantly more learned and realized than mine. But anyway, we can praise the Lord, as the saying goes, according to our capacity. Who knows this verse? Anyone learned it? It's a very important verse. Alright, so those who know can chant it with me. Dharamah projita kaitavatrapa paramo nirmat saranam satang Vidyam vastavam atravastu shivadam tapatrayon mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite King Vaparayishvaraha Sadyo Hridya Varudhyate Ta Kritibhi Susrushubhistakshanat. Yeah, please read the translation in Czech. Yeah, so I'll start by discussing the word Satam. Actually, I've already discussed it, but I'll discuss it a little more. Satam is translated as devotees. This specifically refers to persons who are sincere to understand the truth. Is that a video camera? I see. All right. Wonders of modern technology. Yeah, the subject of Srimad Bhagavatam has been established in the first verse as Satyam Param, the supreme truth. That supreme truth is Bhagavan, is described therein. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Respects are offered to Vasudev, who is Bhagavan, Krishna. And this scripture is called Srimad Bhagavatam, which is in relation to Bhagavan. Srila Prabhupada begins his introduction to the Srimad Bhagavatam with an analysis of how the Bhagavatam brings together the conception of God and the conception of the Absolute. Srila Prabhupada writes the first words of his introduction: the conception of God and the conception of absolute truth are not on the same level. I hope they translated it correctly, because it's very, very important. It's not such an easy thing to catch, but it's very important that it's. What's the first? It starts with the word Srimad Bhagavatam. Well, that puts it in different order to the English.
The
second sentence becomes the first. Well, it's actually, of course, I don't know anything about Czech language, but Prabhupada introduces this by stating, not introducing the Srimad Bhagavatam, but by in the first sentence, but introducing the philosophical difference that is generally conceived between the conception of God and the conception of the Absolute Truth. And then Srila Prabhupada, well, first of all, let's try to understand this. What does this mean? The conception of the Absolute Truth is generally considered a philosophical conception. Well, it is a philosophical conception. that is generally sought out by philosophically minded people and concluded that the Absolute Truth is impersonal. Whereas from the philosopher's point of view, the conception of God is sentimental. That means a supreme power, a supreme person who we turn to for succor and help in our difficulties within the world. Do you know what succor means?
No.
It means something like assurance, nourishment, some kind of mental soothing. If you don't know what a word means, please ask me, because otherwise you'll either miss it or misrepresent it. So it's people who are philosophical, even apparently theistic philosophers, they think that this conception of God, that's just for less intelligent people. And thus the atheistic philosophers like Karl Marx, who said that religion is the opiate of the people, and the impersonalists who say that, well, there are different grades of impersonalists, but the traditional impersonalists in India, the followers of Shankaracharya, say that bhakti is good for people on a lower level, but when you come to a higher level, then you understand that the Absolute Truth is impersonal. And we find that in traditions which are supposed to be theistic, of which the prominent example for us here in Europe is Christianity, that while the common people used to, I don't see many people in the churches nowadays, but the common people used to pray to Jesus, who they mistake to be God, believing in him as a person, but those the theologians or the philosophically minded members of the church, they have it like a secret among themselves that they think that it's not right. Actually, God is a power, a force, mystical, sublime, beyond word. In other words, they have an impersonal concept. So what's the Bhagavatam about? Is it about the Absolute Truth, or is it about God? What do you think? Well, you already read it in Czech. The Srimad Bhagavatam hits on the target of the Absolute Truth. Srila Prabhupada doesn't present that this immediately that this is about God, but he presents that this is an exposition of the Absolute Truth, which we will find out is God, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Vyasadeva presents this Bhagavad Tattva Vijnanam, the scientific knowledge of the Supreme Truth, scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead. He presents it in the context of Vedanta. There are many scriptures in which Krishna is mentioned, many Puranas and Mahabharata. He is presented as the Supreme Lord. But the Gyanis, or those who are trying to understand or approach the highest platform by the pursuit of knowledge, they're on the path of knowledge, and they're interested in Brahma, with that which is described in the Vedas as Brahma. So Brahma means, what we usually, Prabhupada has written that in English as Brahman, to distinguish that from the term Brahmana and the name Brahma. Brahma means the absolute truth. That is the subject of Vedanta, which is the end of the Vedas, the summum bonum of the Vedas. You have summum bonum in, they say in Czech, it's a Latin term. Prabhupada uses it often, this term. I think devotees should know this term. Because if you read Prabhupada's books, you have to know this term. Isn't it? You've all heard this from, you probably, I think I first read it in Prabhupada's books. It literally means the highest welfare. But Srila Prabhupada, he generally seems to use it as a synonym for the absolute truth, or the highest level. Vedanta Sutra is also called Brahma Sutra. Vyasadeva begins his Srimad Bhagavatam with the words Janmadhyasya Yataha, which is the first term used to describe Brahma, the Supreme Truth, in the Brahma Sutra. So everything else in the Brahma Sutra is a discussion on this principle, Janmadhyasya Yataha, which Srila Prabhupada translates that the Supreme Truth is the source of all emanation. Now, in Brahma Sutra, the Vyasadeva develops that knowledge of Brahma in one way, and here in Srimad Bhagavatam he develops it in another way. They both describe the same thing, but here in Srimad Bhagavatam it is explicitly described, whereas in Vedanta Sutra it is implicitly described. You could say Anvaya-vyatirekabhyam means directly and indirectly. Is another way of putting it. Actually, it's not indirectly in Vedanta Sutra, but it appears to be so for people who don't understand it. So, who will understand this? There are maybe hundreds of verses, anyway, there are many verses composed by devotee poets describing the wonder that the Param Brahma, the Supreme Truth, is a person who is subservient to, and especially that he is subservient to his devotees. Shrutim itere, Smritim itere. What is that? Shrutim itere, Smritim itere. Bharatam bhaya bhitam. Ahameha nandang vande yasyalinde parang brahma. This is quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that some people worship the Shruti, the original Vedic literature, and others are followers of the Smriti, that which is developed from the original Vedic literature. Some study the Mahabharata, being Bharata Manne Bhayam Vitam, being afraid of the condition of material life. But as far as I am concerned, the author of this verse says, I worship who? What do you think? Who? Nanda Maharaj. I worship Nanda Maharaj because in his courtyard the Supreme Truth is playing, subservient to Nanda Maharaj. That's the implication. So devotees, they are the perfect understanders of the Absolute Truth. Nanda Maharaj is the greatest Vedantist. If we actually want to understand the purport of Vedanta, we have to go to Nanda Maharaj. With his big round belly and long beard, he doesn't look like a Vedantist. He doesn't talk like a Vedantist, what we commonly consider a Vedantist. But he is the perfect Vedantist because he is Nanda Maharaj. He's the fully in love with Krishna. So, Satam means one who is in relation to the those who are in relation to the Supreme Truth. And Atato Brahma Jignasa, the Vedanta Sutra begins with the exhortation to find out the Supreme Truth, the direction, order, urging. So devotees, Satam, Srila Prabhupada often translates this as honest because it means in relation to the truth. Devotees are sincere seekers of the truth. Others who who study the Vedas without trying to find the truth, or who are attracted to impersonal conceptions of the truth. They're not actually sincere. Therefore, they are attracted to dharma, artha, kama, moksha, which is cheating religion. It's cheating because it's not directly connected with the truth. They don't directly bring us to Krishna. Those who are sincere, they will be attracted to Krishna, and those who are not sincere, they will not be attracted to Krishna. Moghasha mogha karmano mogha jnana vichetasaha rakshasin asarin chaiva prakriting mohining shitaha. Persons who are not attracted to Krishna, and especially persons who are envious of Krishna, they become attracted to demoniac and atheistic views. Thus their culture of knowledge, their fruitive activities, they're all spoiled, thwarted. It simply results in more and more illusion. So Ved means knowledge. Knowledge means to know that Krishna is the Supreme and we are all in relation to Him. But those who study the Vedas without coming to this point, their knowledge, say vidya avidya jani, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, all that knowledge is just the opposite of knowledge actually. It's just like the absurdity of having read all the Ramayana and at the end saying, I only have one question, that who is Sita the father of? It's an absurd question. Because Sita, how can she be the father of anyone, being a female? So, those who study the Vedas but they don't get Vidya, they are cheated by their own, not actually by Vyasadeva or by Saraswati or by Krishna, but by their own foolishness and rascaldom. Those who are sincere, who from the beginning are not cultivating an attitude of envy to Krishna, they can understand this subject, which is Vedyam Vastavam. It is the actual subject to be understood within the Vedas. Everything else is simply cheating. However, we find Vedeshya Veraham Eva Vedyaha, within all the Vedas Krishna is to be known. Sarve Veda Yat Padam Amananti, all the Vedas are meant for understanding this point. So how can it be said that all the Vedas are cheating? Well, they're meant to lead one to Krishna, but actually the Vedas, there's that also, there's that Vede Ramayane Chaiva Purane Brahma, Vede Ramayane Chaiva Purane Bharate Tata Adavante Cha Madhye Cha Hari Sarvatra Giyate. In all the Vedas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, the only subject is beginning, middle and end. The only subject is glorification of Hari, Krishna. But this can only be understood if it's seen in the light of Srimad Bhagavatam. Because this gives the clue, this is the actual subject of Bhagavatam, of the Vedas. So this Srimad Bhagavatam, Mahamuni Krite, it's compiled by Vyasadeva. And within Srimad Bhagavatam, again and again we'll find the declaration that this is the topmost knowledge. Idang Bhagavata Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishayasaya lokasya dhanyang swastyayanang mahat. Here it's stated that this Srimad Bhagavatam is Brahma Samitam. It is the, what shall we say? It's the exposition, or it's the essence of all the Vedas. Brahma in this context means the Vedas. And the essence of all the Vedas is Uttama Shloka Charitam, describing the pastimes of he who is described in the best verses, namely Krishna. It is compiled by Vyasadeva, Bhagavan Rishi, Maharshi Vyas, who is the avatar of the personality of Godhead. It is Nishayasaya Lokasya. It is meant for the benefit of all people. And it bestows all benediction to all people. Actually, I'm going to read the English translation, because the translation of Prabhupada, because it's so beautiful, Prabhupada's translation, but I won't, because I don't have it in this book. This book only has 2 chapters. Sorry for messing up your microphone here. Okay. All right. You must be having it in there? You have the Veda base in there?
Yes.
So please have a look for that. Idang Bhagavata Nama. There's more than one verse beginning with these words, but this particular one is the first in the Bhagavatam, beginning with those words. Idang Bhagavatam Nama. It comes in the 3rd chapter, toward the end. Is it in the 4th?
It is 3rd chapter 40.
Oh, I see. 340, is it? 1340. Okay. If you type in 1340, you'll get it. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Or if you type in Idang Bhagavatam Nama, Bhagavatam Nama, you'll get it. There are other verses. You see, you take one point and then you start to discuss it, and there's so much in Bhagavatam. Did you find it? Yeah, okay, good, thank you. Oh, you don't have all the fonts installed. Okay, this Srimad Bhagavatam is the literary... Maybe you can translate it as I say it. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the literary incarnation of God, and it is compiled by Srila Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people, and it is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. This is not exactly a literal translation, but it's definitely a beautifully poetic and blissful translation, which shows Prabhupada's own love for Srimad Bhagavatam. Let's have a look at that. Idang Bhagavatam Nama. Bhagavata Nama, is it? Then we can find other verses. Oh, I spelled it. Bhagava. Yeah, there are other instances of this also. Oh, alright, I didn't get it. Alright, that's just another angle we could have gone down. So, yeah. Then, Vedyam Vastavam, this is the actual subject of matter of the Vedas, through which all the Vedas are to be understood. Shankaracharya proposes to understand the Vedas through what he calls the Mahavakyas. He states that there are thousands of Mahavakyas, among which 4 are the guiding ones. Particularly Tattvam Asi is very famous. Ekam Eva Advitiyam. What is that? Anandam, Pragyanam, Brahma, and one other which I can't remember just now. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said no, the Mahavakya in the Vedas is Omkar, Pranav. Which, anyway, those statements, the Mahavakyas of Shankaracharya are misunderstood and misrepresented by him. But anyway, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said he took Omkar as the actual, the most important statement of the Vedas. And that Omkar is the first word of Srimad Bhagavatam, and it is the seed of all the Vedas. From Omkar all the Vedas have expanded, and its full exposition is this Srimad Bhagavatam. Exposition means demonstration of, elaborate demonstration of. Alright, I'll stop there. Are there any questions about this? No. Alright. Well, maybe I'll go on a bit more then. Or should we stop because you have to do the yoga? Alright, we'll stop.
That's one question.
Yeah.
Which desires Krishna has?
What desires does Krishna have? He desires that you chant his name purely and go to him. That is what Krishna desires. Alright.
I want to ask if this cheating religion can, how to say, it can be seen among the devotees.
Oh yeah, that's actually good. I'm glad you brought that up because that was something I meant to discuss. But well, I did discuss it to some extent in Croatia. I was going to discuss it again now, but I went off on a different tangent. Yeah, even if dharma, artha, kama and moksha, if these are brought into the field of bhakti, that's not pure bhakti. It's not the bhakti that Srimad Bhagavatam speaks of. One who is sincere will not mix dharma, artha, kama and moksha. So, philosophically, it's to be understood what is the difference between Shuddha Bhakti and Karma Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, Yoga Mishra Bhakti. Those who are sincere will naturally be attracted to discussions of Shuddha Bhakti. There is one class of cheating religion, or cheating so-called bhakti, in which they say that Shuddha Bhakti means without any philosophy, only lila. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Siddhanta balaya chittena karaha alash, yaha hoite Krishna lage sudhira manosh. That don't be lazy in the matter of understanding Siddhanta, or the proper conclusions of bhakti. By not being lazy in the matter of Siddhanta, one's mind becomes strongly attached to Krishna. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur rephrased this as Siddhanta alashjan anartha tacharena. One who is lazy in the matter of understanding Siddhanta cannot give up anarthas. So one who is not fixed in Siddhanta, they take anartha to be artha and artha to be anartha. Anartha means that which is opposed to our real self-interest, and artha means the essence, or that which is for ourselves. That's why it's useful actually to understand some Sanskrit words which are regularly used in Shastra, because they express concepts that don't appear in English or any of these Western languages. The term anartha, as it's used in Vaishnava understanding, is it's not used even in by other users of Sanskrit language, and what to speak of those coming from the Czech Republic. But I mean ordinary people who speak Czech and don't know any Sanskrit. Anartho pashamang sakshad bhakti yogamad hoksaje Lokasya janato vidvans chakre satvata sanghita. Anarthas can be immediately dispelled by the process of bhakti yoga. But most people don't know this, and therefore Vyasadeva compiled this Satvata Sanghita, this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is in connection with the Supreme Truth. So, we need our own Vaishnava dictionary. It's useful for those who want to enter deeply into understanding of Srila Prabhupada's books. It's useful to try to understand the meaning of these words. Alright, so Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.